Welcome back. So the Andrew Cuomo story took a turn today, but that saga is far from over. Let's talk about it. That and more with friend of the show, a one-man content machine, keeper of the list, the OG Habibi bro, Siraj Hashmi, up late with me on the Final Five. It's been forever. Yeah, good to see you, my friend.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Dude, it's been a while. You've gone off. You're doing your own thing now. So many various ventures which people find online. But it's good to see you again.
Good to see you too, Jim.
Talk to me here. So look, I know on social you've been pretty critical about the Cuomo saga in many different ways. One, how the media has handled it from the get-go, because, you know, think about 15 months ago, he was being hailed as the next hero, the next coming. People were declaring themselves Cuomo-sexuals. Things have changed. Things
have changed quite dramatically in the last 15 months, Jim. I mean, just to think about how 15 months ago, there was conversation about how Andrew Cuomo was going to be the next Democratic nominee for president to replace Joe Biden for some reason in 2020. And now he's resigned in disgrace over 11 women sexually accusing him of committing sexual harassment in the workplace, amongst a number of other indiscretions. But obviously what gets lost in all the weeds is the fact that over the course of his handling of the pandemic, his policies led to the deaths of somewhere close to 15,000 elderly people in nursing homes in the state of New York. I mean, it's completely unacceptable. So it's good that he's gone, right? But man, the fact that he wasn't even investigated by the Biden DOJ and that the Attorney General, Letitia James, didn't even prosecute him for even the sexual harassment, stain on our entire justice system.
So while that was going on too, there was so much made out the way this was being covered on CNN, and we know his brother has the 9 o'clock hour. And I remember back during Hurricane Sandy when it was not uncommon to see Chris Cuomo interviewing Andrew Cuomo. But then it came out that you had Chris Cuomo advising Andrew Cuomo on messaging, which, according to the Washington Post, was still going on, even though Chris Cuomo's on vacation this week. And I got to tell you, I have a lot of friends who work at CNN, and I think CNN has good journalists working there, but that does not help their cause.
No, not at all. And I think you always have to remember that when it comes to some of these establishments, and I'm not obviously putting the onus on you, but when you work for a corporation, you are oftentimes just the mouthpiece for that corporation's agenda and interests. So when it comes to CNN, yes, they have good journalists, but do they always have 100% editorial discretion? No, they don't. And that's the problem. So with Chris Cuomo advising his brother on matters of sexual harassment, that is a huge stain on just the journalism industry as a whole, because that wades into that line in the sand that regardless of whether you are a journalist or you're a politician, crossing that threshold, there's no turning back. And I have trouble finding anyone still having confidence in Chris Cuomo doing his job from here on out as an objective journalist. I mean, obviously he is an objective, but even now more so, it's even worse. I mean, can he really recover from this? I'm not sure.
No, it's very convenient, too, that he had the week off when all this was breaking.
Yes. You hate to see it, Jim.
So, you know, moving forward with this story, and then we got another thing I want to get to, but you know, what do you think the end result is? Because, again, and I've said it here, you know, being a member of the media, we have so much trust that we have to earn back collectively. In the way we cover things, and we can analyze things in certain ways, but I think there's still a big trust deficit. Do you think Chris Cuomo survives this? Does he come back from his vacation?
You know, that's a very good question. You know, I think the one thing I thought with utmost certainty was that Andrew Cuomo was not going to resign under any circumstances. He was going to fight tooth and nail, and all of a sudden he resigned. Yeah. Why can't it happen to Chris Cuomo? I think it's if anything, Chris Cuomo will probably resign before he gets fired. And I think that's going to happen within the next week or two. Well,
I mean, look,
but yeah, we'll see.
Chuck Todd from NBC seems to think that Andrew Cuomo is going to resurrect his campaign or resurrect his career. But I pointed out today as well that the last New York governor to resign amid scandal ended up with the 8 o'clock slot on CNN, that being Eliot Spitzer about 10 years ago. So stranger things have happened.
That's true. That's very true.
People forget about that.
That's true, they
so,
do.
So look, over the weekend, there was a big party on Cape Cod or in Martha's Vineyard. It was former President Obama's 60th birthday. And look, he's not the president anymore. But I think that there was a big problem with the messaging there, because you have the Democrats trying to take the moral high ground when it comes to handling the COVID pandemic. And sure, everybody was vaccinated. They were testing everybody. We learned that Delta doesn't really discriminate when it comes to that. So what do you think about the messaging that came out, again, even though he's not the president anymore?
Right. The one thing that I take away from it is that there's a group of elites, and then there's the rest of us, where the rules apply, and they're the ones who are the decision makers, right? You know, Barack Obama might not be president, but he still has a lot of influence within the Democratic Party. Basically, the entire struggle right now, at least in a post-Trump world, is who gets control of the Democratic Party. Right now, Obama basically gave his blessing to Joe Biden, and they're not going to wrestle. They are not going to let that power slip away in any way, shape, or form. Not to any Bernie supporter, not to any AOC or squad member. It's just not going to happen unless they really have a major shakeup that undermines the credibility of Barack Obama.
Do you think we have that struggle on both sides of the political spectrum right now?
Yes, absolutely, 100%.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's what we're seeing right now. And I will say this, when I looked at the guest list for the Obama 60th, and like Gayle King was there, and I'm like, okay, how do you take her seriously on CBS when she's out there partying? You know, but that's another story for another day. Hey, Siraj, I got to let you go. I appreciate it as always. Good to see you again.
Good to see you too, Jim.
I get the salute. There you go. Final Five comes back after this.